Yeah, a prayer, that's a solemn request for help, or you just being thankful. Augustine MoeValley Yahuah though, it is written. Yeah. If you knew what made them cry, give a tissue for their eyes. Humble down and listen to them, would you pray for them? I'm just speaking from the heart, ain't no strife, I wanna start. Living life, it could get hard, what would you say to them? I pray to Abba for some help, trying to make the safest steps. Can't do nothing but ourselves and people made for them. If you knew what made them cry, give a tissue for their eyes. Humble down and listen to them, would you pray for them?
So the Abba gotta pray for him. Some heads hard like acorns. No sunshine, just rainstorms. In the sea for your children with the raised arms. Yep, rough life in the days born. System already got a name for him. Offense, misfortune. These dark clouds been constantly rained on. Main reason they brainstorm. Come up with ways to remain warm. Yes, hurts my heart, but I send one up and I pray that you hang on. These streets ain't nothing to remain on. Looked in his eyes, saw pains from. Innocent child made numb. Do real smart, but he played dumb. Realize what cloth you was made from. Abba knows her situations. Wake up, you young generations. Abba love bring you liberation. He sees your heart that's vacant. Sentence here that's patience. I know you do not know this, but he sees your heart that's aching and loves you much. Dust yourself off, don't give up.
I see you,
Mental
Jay
notes
Breezy.
for the
Salute,
weak.
King.
Living
How you
Abba, the
doing?
enemy's crushed.
Good to see
Under
you.
your feet, dance in the streets. That's so sweet, and Abba we trust. Under your feet, dance in the street. That's so sweet, Abba picks you up. Okay.
If you knew what made them cry, give a tissue for their eyes. Humble down and listen to them, would you pray for them? I'm just speaking
That's
from
my
the
Aki J
heart,
Breezy
ain't no
in the
strife, I
building,
wanna
family.
start.
Man, y'all go show
Living
that
life,
king
it
some
could get
love.
hard, what would you
So
say
yacha.
to them? I pray to Abba for some help, trying to make the safest steps. Can't do nothing but ourselves and people made for them. If you knew what made them cry, give a tissue for their eyes. Humble down and listen to them, would you pray for them?
God forgive me for even having these thoughts that I'm having. My family needs to eat. Landlord talking about evicting us. My kids ain't got nothing to eat. They hungry. At this point, I need to get some money. And anybody can get it. Anybody.
I gave my testimony, let the people in my life. 50 shots hit the car, now that's a scary night. I was sent a message cause I wasn't living right. Admit my wrongs in the hope and he'll give you life. I did words to cut you deep, no, this ain't a butter knife. No, he put a trumpet in me, so I'm gonna raise my mic. The world will try and make you second guess your kingdom right. They do. I know some people desperate crying for Yahuah life. They got a story in them, they just need a ear. All the steam to my Abba, cause he brought us from the rip. All the questions from the past, now all the answers clear. Had to pump my brakes, my life kept calm and out of gear. No more swerving, no more worries. Lean on my shoulder if you hurting. Gotta live every day with a perfect purpose. Trying to make my action worthy. Ruach coat me like a jersey. My prayers to Yahuah, all my verses, yeah. If you knew what made them cry, give a tissue for their eyes. Humble down and listen to them, would you pray for them? I'm just speaking from the heart, ain't no strife, I wanna start. Living life, it could get hard, what would you say to them? I pray to Abba for some help, trying to make the safest steps. Can't do nothing but ourselves and people made for them. If you knew what made them cry, give a tissue for their eyes. Humble down and listen to them, would you pray for them? If you knew what made them cry, try their eyes. Would you pray? What would you say? Ain't no I'm on the start. Say what would you say? For some help, still myself. What would
Hey,
you
man,
say?
we got beautiful
If you knew what
black
made them cry,
snowflake in the building, man. Man, shalom, queen.
would you pray for?
Man, that's a beautiful sister right there, y'all, man. Y'all go show that love to that beautiful queen right there, families. Man, she gonna keep you sharp out here, you dig? But let's go to our next music joint. Man, my brother Jay Breezy, man, he gonna keep you laughing out here, man. Y'all make sure y'all go show some love to that king right there, too. Let's go to our next music joint. Already, sis, man, keep them sharp out here, queen, for real, family. It's that beautiful queen right there, family's almost, she's in her 50s, family's looking good, maybe in her 60s, y'all, looking good, family. So, like, quit playing with her. Beautiful Queen Anointed is in the building, family. She not too long just got through dropping off a wonderful video, family. I think she went over Acts. Was it the book of Acts? Yeah. Chapter 2. Come on.
Because we always move a million miles a minute. So I'm grateful for any time that we're given. Whatever you wanna do, I'm gonna do. You don't defraud me, I don't defraud you. Let do benevolence. There ain't no limit, the bed is undefiled. Baby, I won't do what you wanna do, nothing but stays in time. Baby,
Hey, families, man, we got my big brother in the building, King Sheed. We is in the building, King. Hey, bro, we missed you today, bro. Man, my blessings and prayers to you and your family, bro. I was expecting you today, King. But I know that things tend to come up in people's lives, man. But I do want to let you know, big bro, man, we missed you out here, King. Man, good to see you in the building. Salute and respect. Man, y'all go show that brother some love right there, man. He be going in. Man, one of the hottest joints going on in Zion right now as we speak, families, man. And our music, families, man, is truly explosive, man. We're going to a higher limits, man. Let's go to our first gym. Okay, families. Now,
Oftentimes, due to the
as you
society.
continue your walk, families, man, a lot of people, families, want you to tell you that your outer appearance, families, doesn't mean anything. They trying to sit there and try to tell you, families, that, oh, it doesn't matter if you were black, white, green, purple, yellow. It doesn't matter, man. You know what I'm saying? But families, man, your ancient ancestors, families, on everybody that's on this planet, families, holds a certain type of genetic makeup, man. Your DNA truly identifies and separates you from everybody else on the planet, man. Regardless of what the next individual is talking about. If you lacking understanding based upon who you truly are, don't sit there and bring that bull crap, man, that it's somebody else, man. Real talk. Just because you have a lack of understanding on who you truly are. If somebody is out there trying to express their inner being well along their outer appearance, families, then hear the whole conclusion of the matter. See what this individual is talking about. If you can vibe with it, cool. If you can't, cut it off. Let's go.
most European standard of beauty, many black women can feel like their beauty isn't good enough. But this is starting to change more and more as they realize their melanin really is kind of like magic. Everyone has melanin, both light and dark-skinned individuals. Melanin is a broad term for a group of natural pigments found in most organisms. It is the primary determinant of skin color. Black women greatly benefit from melanin because it prevents them from aging as quickly as other groups.
A study found that black women's skin typically ages about 10 years slower than white women's skin. Here's why. Human skin has 3 layers: the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. Melanocytes in the epidermis produce melanin, a natural skin pigment. Melanin blocks UV rays, which can accelerate the aging process. Black men and women produce more melanin in their skin, which results in darker pigments. The more melanin in your skin, the more protection you have against the harmful effects of sun exposure. Too much exposure to UV rays can cause skin to age quicker, resulting in wrinkles and sunspots. Since white women produce less melanin, they can show signs of aging faster. This doesn't mean that black women won't experience skin aging. It just happens at a slower rate.
Melanin is a molecule. And the concept of melanin is, it is black in its nature. We find it in the cosmos, we find it in the heavens, we find it in water, we find it in land, we find it in everything that exists.
Scholars and scientists have been having conferences about melanin, to my awareness, at least since the 1920s. These scientists said that the pineal gland, they refer to the pineal gland as a vestigial organ. That is a calcified gland within the body that serves no purpose, as if the creator would create something that you didn't need. And it was only after the Vietnam War, in the late 60s and early 70s, they began to rewrite their interpretation of the pineal gland. The reason for that was that a large number of African Americans fought and died in the Vietnam War. And whenever a soldier dies, there's an autopsy that's performed before their body is sent back to Dover Air Force Base. And what they discovered, what these physicians discovered, is that when they performed the autopsies, the 75 to 80% of the African American soldiers had a large functioning pineal gland. The pineal gland is normally about the size of your thumb. So it was not a vestigial organ in 70 to 80% of African Americans, but it is a calcified organ in 75 to 80% of people with European ancestry. So they began to reevaluate the pineal gland.
So this is a complex molecule. It's found in the brain. It's found in your adrenal glands. It's a powerful free radical scavenger. In other words, it helps the body prevent this oxidation, so it's an antioxidant. Melanin may play a much bigger role than just absorbing all this radiation, and when you get it into your body, it actually has a major effect on your immune system. It protects genes and it actually repairs broken DNA. Isn't that wonderful? Something breaks down because you're exposed to chemicals or radiation. Think of the people of Japan right now in 2011 who are suffering from huge amounts of radiation. What could we do to help them prevent cancer developing? Well, you need a DNA repairer, and that's what melanin does. It exists in many other tissues, as I mentioned. It's actually a very important molecule in any woman who's having a baby, because the fetus has all this melanin in it.
The sperm of the male and the egg of the woman, they're both layered with melanin, so that when the sperm penetrates the egg, there is a melanin explosion, and that melanin helps to formulate the fetus within that egg, and that fetus is literally coated with the melanin substance. That melanin substance then goes on to form the brain and the central nervous system. So every human being begins with a melanin explosion.
In steering things in the body, in the whole regulatory system, melanin's role in embryological organization, that's in the baby's organization, and tissue repair and tissue regeneration, may be connected to the major role that it plays to balance the body. That's called homeostasis. Here's a picture of a baby at 35 days of pregnancy, and this is the eye. of an embryo. Notice that the eye is pure melanin. That's an amazing picture, isn't it? To see all this melanin is inside, and when the embryo first forms, there is what's called the dark streak. It's all melanin.
It is the dynamic, the primary dynamic in every part of the cell. It's a primary dynamic in the core of the human being as well as to the surface of the human being. Its intelligence is responsible for the forming of the nervous system. Every part of the nervous system has these little black dots all through it, which essentially carry information.
The body is actually a communication system where everything is connected to everything else, and it works through light. It works through light. It's called biophotons. And in this communication system, cells have connections to other cells called integrins, and electrons and light flows between cells. So it's like a supercomputer. In fact, there's somebody even studying whether energy is directly absorbed from the melanin in your skin and transformed into energy in your body. And it's thought to be, by some people, a master molecule that actually steers how the body communicates.
Clearly, the more melanin you have, the more beneficial it is to your being and to your body. How could anyone ever be ashamed?
Okay, so pause, Zion. Now, families, man, when you go to certain groups and most tribes that talk about haplogroups, now usually families, the higher the number, like 100% or 80%, 90%, whatever the higher number is, the more factual the information is. The higher the number, the more factual the information is. Well, when it's dealing with genetic makeup and your own DNA, it's not how high the number is. The lower the number means that families, you is coming for what they call the first fruits. You is literally the descendants of these ancestors of whatever you come from. The lower the number you have, it got to be low, not high. If it's high, families, when it's dealing with your genetic makeup, that means you is a hybrid, a mixed breed, a lichen. You is a mixture of all types of people, man. There's nothing pure about your DNA because it's mixed with all types of folks, man. The lower the number, the more original your genetic makeup is, your DNA, your blood, man. This stuff is deep when you got people talking about it, man. Like, wow.
Of the melanin that possesses so much magic. This video was sponsored by Talib.
Okay, family, so we finna go to our next music joint. I'm gonna play 2 more music joints, and then we got some more gems, families. Zion Dynasty, my brother, my Aki over there, family, just went live. That was my class for the night. I thought I had a little bit more time to go live for y'all before I go to my class. But families, man, we might be streaming my brother, man, while we doing what we doing over here. You know what I'm saying? So I can still be in class and we could be in class together. You know what I'm saying? Showing you where I go, families. You know what I'm saying? And families, these teachings are very edifying, families, as long as you keeping it in this biblical context. And families, man, you're not supposed to be of this world, so you're not supposed to be worried about these worldly things that's going on around here. The kingdom that you as part of, families, is coming. It's coming. It's not here yet. But when it touched down, families, man, only your King of Kings and Lords of Lords, man, going to be true ruler, man, of this new kingdom that's going to come. So until then, families, strap up and boot up, man. Strap up and boot up. Let's go to our next music joint.
ones. I was depressed and ain't nobody know. What do you do when you feel so alone? Called on my dad and he answered the phone. My heart was frozen, it felt like stone. Don't leave a message right after the tone. Yeah, I do not brag and don't boast, but no, I've been straight in the boat. When God coming back, I'ma go. Work hard and I stay on my toes. Yeah, I had to focus on every moment. God gave me the chance and now I gotta show it. Garbage, torment, pain went through the longest. Trials, tribulations in those moments. Started change for me to focus.
Hey, let's go to our next music joint. I see you in the building. Let's go, beautiful Queen Anointed. I love you, sis. Let's go, Queen. Man, we're gonna give a big shout out, man, to beautiful Queen Jacqueline out there, families. Man, to the Ali's out there, families. Beautiful Queen Mama Miranda, beautiful Queen Teray. You know what I'm saying? Let's show our love to our brothers and sisters that's out there, man. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful Queen Lisa. You know what I'm saying? So, man, show love to those that's out there, man. Get them they roses while they chill, man. Because families, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. I know y'all heard about that stuff that happened in Buffalo. Man, families, pretty soon, give it about a couple of days, families. You're gonna hear people sitting there saying this was staged. Did nobody die? And none of that stuff. Tell you, families, that this was fake. The whole thing. Yeah, that part. Yeah. Give it a couple of days, man. You know what I'm saying? And then you're gonna hear people contradictions about the event and everything. At the end of the day, families, how I see something, when somebody talk about, man, a body has been lost and took in, families, I take that seriously. I don't play around with the dead, man. That's one thing I don't do. I don't sit here and say somebody faked their death and all this, and I don't play with death, man. That's what I'm trying to say, families. There are certain individuals that you be around, families, that be crossing boundaries, families. They be crossing boundaries, families. They be breaking codes, families. Codes is a law, is a structure. It's something that you obey on, families. You hold 10 toes to it, families. It's a foundation, man. These are laws, y'all. These are morals, values, and principles that identify who you truly are, not just on the outside, but what's really truly inside of you, that everybody can see. These are the MVPs that's out here, man. The true soldiers for Hamashiach. And you got some people out here, families, that will confuse you when certain events that takes place and tell you that, families, that stuff is fake. Like, really now? We doing that? Okay. Yet alone they doctrine. It's what they say, families. Once you done let this stuff come out of your mouth, families, you done loose this stuff on this earth and it done been bound on this earth. And if you send a prayer in any type of way, families, and it came through your lips, then, families, you done loosed it in the heavens, families, and it shall be bound in the heavens. So you can't be playing with certain things, man. There's certain things that you don't play with, especially if you grown. If you grown, you don't play. No, what? Come on, man. This ain't no video game where you got continues and extra lives and stuff like that. No, you only got one life, and only Yah will give you that second one, man. So until then, stay obedient. Don't be, man, real recognize real. Recognize the real, y'all. Hey, we just talked you up. Hey, beautiful Queen Jacqueline. Shalom, sis. And the Most High Yahweh told you guys you persecute and protect all the kings and queens of y'all. Shalom, man. I love you, Zion.
Cause I'm walking with you. They say that the sky is the limit. Yeah. Well, you tore the roof off that image. Yeah. You and I were meant to fly. But my bad. Flight got delayed. So here I am.
Man, let's go to our next gems. Let's go to our next gems, Zion. Let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it pushing.
You can take a 55-gallon drum of water, spill it over, it will disperse, find its own level, and eventually evaporate. You can take that same 55-gallon drum of water, put it under pressure, put a lid on it, put a hose in it, put a nozzle on the end of that hose, and it can cut concrete. There is no power with us being disconnected. See, there's nothing wrong with dispersion. I live in Cleveland, you live in Atlanta. We have folk in the Caribbean.
Pause. Now, families, the reason why I went here because during the last Shabbat, not last Shabbat, but last Sunday, families, man, we went over water and the true elements of water, families, and the percentage, the high percentage, families, that everything that's surrounded on this planet, families, has a high percentage of water in it, y'all. We ain't talking about no 2%, 15%, 25%, families. These jokers, the water has a mass element, families, of like almost above 50%, y'all. It's in the 60s to 70s. Like, this stuff is, you can't make up. If you can be around people that's going to identify these certain clues, all you need is somebody to just trigger that in your mindset. That means somebody got to say it first. Once that done been triggered, families, you done put wood on that fire, families. Let it burn. Take this knowledge in. Don't worry about what the next individual is not trying to intake. Knowledge is power, but it depends on what type of knowledge you was intaking that's going to give you your power, families. Who is your power source? Now, the Most High always talk about these living waters. Let's continue.
We have folk in Africa, that's dispersion. That's okay, but we do not have to be disconnected. We are a disconnected people. We are powerless in disconnection. This is where all the power is. You see? This is where all the power is. Whether you are at the center of your own network or part of someone else's network, this is where the power is. You can take a 55-gallon.
Let's go, families. I got some more. We got to keep it pushing. I love y'all, man. But we got to keep it pushing. Let's go.
To be the obvious, deeper connection. And so the majority of this video will be conjecture. With that being said, some attest that breakdancing made its first debut with the superstar James Brown with his hit song, Get on the Good Foot. From this introduction, the good foot evolved into what was soon to be called b-boying or breakdancing. B-boying or breakdancing originated in the Bronx, New York amongst the African American community, and by the 1970s, it began gaining popularity. From there, it became a cultural phenomenon, and wider audiences began gravitating to it, making it mainstream. This short clip was posted by the Huntley Film Archives. It shows an audience of African people from Kaduna, northern Nigeria, performing what clearly seems to be an original form of breakdancing, if you will. The movements are clearly similar, and it would be hard to resist that conclusion. Interestingly enough, this clip was filmed in the 1950s, but by the level of sophistication and the clear advanced dance moves, it's likely that this was in practice well before the 50s, hence making it older than the practice of breakdancing or b-boying in the Western world. In the past, some scholars would frown upon the idea that Afro-Americans inherited cultural or artistic mannerisms from their ancestors, a form of epic memory. At times, they erroneously attributed Afro-American cultural inventions to repackaged Euro-American culture. But with new information coupled with the classic foundational work of Lorenzo Doe Turner, we now know that Africanisms amongst Afro-descendant people provide the best explanation for the many parallels or similarities observed within African culture, mannerisms, and language. But I really want to know what you guys think. Do you believe the short clip revealed earlier is proof that breakdancing indeed came from Africa and that African Americans instinctively drew from that ancestral memory? I'm really interested in hearing what you guys have to say. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.
Come on, family. So I got some more. Let's go to our next music joint, families, and we're gonna dig back into our gems. You know how we gets down.
New breed. That's to the world over. Yeah. Disingenuous thieves trying to rob us a piece. I got them jumping the fences. I left the dog off the leash. A couple verses they flee. Yeah, they watch but don't speak. But I can hear your heartbeat. I don't fear, I just preach. But I learned in the streets, it's like death coming threes. I would die on my sword before I lie on the Lord. It's violence at the door, prepares for war. Sometimes I fight with the flesh, and I be coming up short. The righteous fall 7 times before they ever turn blind. But don't continue in sin or get a reprobate mind. Gotta fight with the masses, taking shots like a maverick. Fiery darts into armor, break off like it's plastic. Like the slave in the field, a sitting plot on the master. Hit his head with the shovel and wrap his body in plastic. When I'm lynched in the public, going out with some laughter. Put a crown on the saint for redefining what's tragic. This the creed of assassins, power circle was had. Let your light shine, rid the world of this madness. Okay, the Lord's battle axe. Let's get it. Yeah, divinely, I'm a poet in the metals and protected of y'all.
Oh, man, that's my brother New Breed, man. Y'all make sure y'all go show that brother some love. Hey, con on that beautiful queen, Jacqueline. Man, give it a couple more days, queen. Man, people are gonna call this thing a host, families. Like real talk, then nobody die. Then nobody got families. I used to be in the streets, man. There's certain codes we couldn't break, families. So me, families, when somebody talk about the laws, I believe in the laws, families. Because families, I didn't know that there was some laws that I know about the 10, but I didn't know there was other laws. You know what I'm saying? That some of them families are abomination to y'all, man. A complete abomination. How do you know what is an abomination to what he hates? You know what I'm saying? Like this stuff is something I don't play with. I don't play with that, y'all. Then people want to sit here and say you coming with a different doctrine. No, families. I'm coming to something, families, that brings me life. So when you go to John chapter 6, verses 1, 61 through like 68, he tells you that the words that he speaks, they're a spirit and they're a life. So families, you can't play. I don't play with the dead. If a body has been taken, families, and been taken up, I don't play with that. People is going to sit there and say that this was fake, man. Be careful on that, y'all. Let's go to the next music joint. Be careful on that, y'all. Keep certain codes, y'all. These codes is certain codes that you have in your household. These are certain morals that you have just within yourself, families, that you uphold with high esteem. Families, man, do that exact same thing, man, with the Most High Yah's laws, man, his statutes, his commandments, his judgments. Hold them to high esteem, families, and then magnify it on this earth, y'all. And then, families, let Yah be true and everybody else a liar, man. Let Yah be truth, man. Let him be your final say-so. Don't worry about what the next individual is talking about, families, especially if they talking about this was fake. This right here. Families, man, a lot of people have been talking about a bunch of events, man, that's been fake, y'all. I don't take heed to that because it brings the spirit with it, y'all. You don't want to mess with a spirit that you, for sure enough, can't even identify. You know what I'm saying? Why mess with something you don't even know what you're fighting up against? That's crazy. Why fight against something you don't even know what you're fighting up against? That's crazy.
My people listen up there all day. Turn back from your wicked ways.
Time almost up, what you gon' do when the sun of man up here in the sky, in the midst of a cloud? Turn back right now, woe to the enemies, the women that get stuck in those days. Birth and a child, repent right now, my people sleeping in a coffin. Rise up and come out that grave. My people listen up and hearken. Turn back from your wiki ways.
Yo, all after the serpent, consumed by generational curses. Know your worth, cause you ain't worthless. Who should die for a purpose? For the seed of Josh chosen. Commands was given to Moses. Iniquity we engulfed in. Pride, lust, and other close sins. Ruach, we became close, forming bonds like some close friends. And in this time we put more in. Consistent lies that last to no end. Consistent drugs we make no men. God, please forgive our souls. As we know not what we do. When we sin against you. God, please don't send us to it. I do not can help us through it. I know my people out here sleep. Please don't.
And the time is up, families, man. That's my brother Micah Yahoo, man. Y'all go check that Aki out right there. That's for my brothers out there, man. You know what I'm saying? Something for you to, when you getting up in the morning, y'all is willing, you getting yourself ready for work, and then you hitting that highway. You know what I'm saying? You feeling ready to go make this money so you can put some food on the table for your family, you dig, and everybody else that you love. You know what I'm saying? So, families, man, you need something that's gonna kind of turn you up. Yeah. Play this, man. Instead of Young Thugger. You know what I'm saying? I heard he got racketeering charges going on against him right now. They got that dude on a wiretap. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world, families, you ain't supposed to entertain, man. It comes with spirits. Let's continue.
And I don't mean African civilization or the obsession with Egypt. I mean, do they really know what happened to Africa? That many tribes that exist today exist the way that they are because of displacement, and that they were not as they are today, and that they are a product of their situation. For example, facial art, lip plates and stuff like that. You may see it as like an African practice, but really it's not. Many things practiced by Africans within their tribes were forms of protection. Like the lip plate specifically was done to girls, women, so that invaders wouldn't take them. Many times it's because people don't actually know about the Arab slave trade.
So then you got some people that are going to sit there and say, oh, man, what this got to do with Christ? Man, Christ said that says that in the body of believers, families, you shall be persecuted. This got everything to do with him. Let's continue.
That happened way before the transatlantic slave trade. It's one of the reasons why there's the Bantu people of Somalia. But you may not have heard about them either. Because, there's the specific type of Somali that's usually the face of Somalia. I don't know what makes people think that Africans just have this power. Just as much as you fight for your existence, we fight for ours. Yes, in this time period, a lot has happened to our people. Do you understand what a country is and the destruction of Africa really means? If you do, then why do you...
Pause. So I'm not truly worried about what the other nations are sitting there saying what happened during this Buffalo event. I'm not worried about what the other nations, they're going to come up with their own conclusion. What's tripping me off, families, is when you got your own people saying that this is a hoax. It was staged. Ain't nobody died. All this and that. When you could see this cat put it live on his Twitch or Twitter or Twitch or something like that. He was live first. Then Twitch found out what he was doing. They had to take it off, man. And then the dude proceeded doing whatever he was doing. But you want to say that this was a hoax? What he put on front of his muzzle, man. The cat had it where he's finna to just aim at somebody, families, and he put nigga on her, dog. Oh, but that was a hoax. Okay. So when your own people is sitting there saying that, now I gotta question you. What you got going on in your life, man? Is everything fairy tale to you? Is everything like pretending to you? There's nothing real going on in your life for you to sit there and say an event like this was a hoax? What's really going on, man? I'll let your boy talk to me, man. What's popping? What's really going on? Because I ain't trying to have you confuse the rest of my brothers and sisters, especially the youth, based upon what you talking about. What you got going on, man? if you think that this was make-believe. Let's continue.
You think Africans have power to make decisions about what languages they learn in school, or as a people, when they can't even change the curriculum because the countries that own them have made their languages official languages of the countries that they colonize. Do y'all ask yourself these questions? If it's not Mandarin as an official language in a specific African country, it's Africans learning French as a national language, as if Africans thought that was a great idea. It's imposed on us. And to be honest with you, at this point, I think it's a benefit if you ask me. Because I know my language, I don't have to be taught it at school. So yeah, teach me the colonizer's language, thank you. I need to be a few steps ahead. I need to know what they're planning next. Those Africans will be our interpreters of what the fuck is going on. We don't choose this life, but best believe we will use those little tactics that they put on us to our benefit. Because language barrier was one of the reasons we're in the situation we're in today. Not being able to comprehend what people were really saying and what they were trying to do. You sound like the same people who don't ask themselves how Shaka communicated with the British. Or if he fought white settlers at all, and that his name was actually Skeety, and why whites speak so highly of him.
Really crazy to me is how much people honestly hate the truth. We live with these stereotypes and people taking the liberty to rewrite our historical narratives, but then when someone actually tells the truth about white people, now it's a problem. I mean, is it not true that everywhere white people have gone, the Aboriginal or native people of that land have suffered significantly? Is it not true that King Leopold of Belgium killed approximately 15 million Africans? Is it not true that Europeans came to Australia and massacred the Aboriginal people there? Is it not true that Asians and Africans came to the Americas before Columbus did, but they didn't start the enslavement of one group of people and the genocide of another? Is it not true that Jewish people owned slaves and therefore benefited in American slavery? And that's my
Pause. Now, families, man, for somebody who ain't even been peeping game so far, I'm really talking to my brothers out there. I know my sisters probably been peeping game, but families, man, these are clips of nothing but queens, man. Not one brother on her families is speaking the way that these queens are speaking right now. Why? Because our brothers out there is trying to get that bag. They're out there trying to get something else. And families, man, yeah, it is what it is. But the sisters, the ones that really truly be maturing our youth out here, the ones that really be out there showing that TLC, that real tender loving care, they the ones that's out there that's speaking out right now. They out here really telling their brothers right now, the people that they love, the men that they love, that way, hey man, ain't y'all supposed to be our protection? Aren't y'all supposed to be our shield? Where your loins at, man? They telling you where your balls at right now, man. Why am I showing you clips of nothing but queens saying something that a man should be saying right now? Let's continue.
Ain't nobody saying that you have to carry that with you your whole life, but the fact that you come to me talking about unity and allies and all that, you won't even acknowledge your history is a problem. We can't get any progress when you lie about what happened historically and get mad at us for telling the truth. Sorry, but we're not going along with these lies no more.
Because I've adopted the identity that the system gave me, and because I'm loyal to it, I'm now turned into a protector of this very same system. Unaware that I'm a protector.
Pause. Black people have been taught to protect the same system that keeps them oppressed. Oppressed. So when the Most High sits there and talks about persecution, families, you got to really know how you is really being persecuted out here. What is truly oppressing you, man? You know what I'm saying? Is it truly your neighbor, or is it a system that everybody is in? There's levels to this, my brothers and sisters. Man, the research team, man, that I'm part of, families, man, I love them brothers and sisters, families. We talk, families, not only about doctrine, families, but one thing we don't do, families, is go out there and expose the next individual, because y'all is going to do that at the end. We supposed to be kingdom building at this moment, man. We supposed to be preparing ourselves at this moment, man. We don't have time to expose something that is going to be exposed when Yah brings that judgment. That's not our say-so. So until then, get in line, know your duties, get information. Period. That's why I'm glad that we got queens out here that's trying to tell the men what you really got going on. What's really worrying you out here? What is something going on in your relationship? Is your bank account less than $1,000? Is one of your children just really going left field? What's really going on? The misery loves company, man. Don't let somebody else's misery or confusion and knowledge, man, be your same misery and confusion. Don't do that. People will do that in a heartbeat and want you to have sympathy for them. No, you grown. You ain't no teenager. You ain't no child. You is a grown adult. You make your own decisions. You make your own choices. Don't let somebody else's energy weaken yours, man. Let's go to Zion Dynasty. We got people that's fighting out here, y'all. I mean, real battle axes and weapons of wars. Not none of that other stuff they got going on. No. You got people that's doing real research. People that's really, truly doing their thing out here, man.
Smoke. Women crying for their sons because their sons are not. Romans killing.
When you uncover the zip file and extract the files of who Christ was historically, a black Judean militant nationalist coming to save his people, he was crucified for a crime he did not commit by the European Roman authorities. Every part of his life is the story of the black man. That's the revelation. That's the spiritual mystery. That's what Satan does not want us to receive. That Yahushua is the image of us. And for us to know ourselves, we have to know him. Not the pale skinned, blonde haired, blue eyed one, but the historical one. So when we talk about the only begotten son, Christ is the image of Israel. And I'm going to prove to you, family, that Israel is the only begotten of the Father. I'm going to go and say, what, JB? I thought Christ was the only begotten son. Dad, don't think about that Greco-Roman, Roman Catholic, immaculate stuff. We're talking about from a Judeo-Hebraic script. Christ was the embodiment of Zion, the perfection and the beauty of Israel. He was the example for his people. He was the walk that every Israelite should take. He was our way maker. He was our bridge. He was the image of the invisible Yah and his relationship with his people. Christ is all these things, but he serves as an example for what we as Israelites should strive to do. When you look at the first century church, before the Council of Nicaea, before the Roman Catholics came and appropriated our history and whitewashed it like white rice and turned it into a market, turned it into a business, turned it into a means to conquer and extend the white supremacist Roman Empire, before that took place, the early century church were predominantly Israelites. And those cleaving Gentiles, they cleaved to the God of Jacob. So you had Israelites in the early church, the first century church. The Israelites adhered to Torah, and they saw Yahushua as the example, right? They were referred to as the followers of the way, right? So those early Israelites, that first century church were Israelites that followed Yahushua and followed the way. They referred to the way that Yahushua lived as the example. And he kept his fringes, the hem of his garment that healed the woman with the issue of blood. He had his beard, he didn't eat pork, right? He believed in baptism, which the Essenes did as a rite of passage, because the word Hebrew means to cross over. So it was a rite of death into one old era and birth or resurrection into the other. So they followed his example. The Essenes, the Nazarenes, a lot of these early Israelite zealots, they followed his example of believing that the kingdom would come, the restoration of Israel. So this is the history that we have to understand. So if Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, Israel knew that that meant we're supposed to follow his example and live the way he lived. Him being the only begotten son, the mystery of that is the revelation of Israel. Now let's look at these precepts. First, let's go to Exodus chapter 4, beginning at verse 21. And the Most High Yah said to Moshe, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders. Now the Most High gave Moses the ability to throw his rod down, it will become a serpent. There is a miraculous history about that rod, y'all, and I can do a video on that, about that rod going back to one of the branches of the tree of life. So the Most High Yah allowed Moses to throw that rod down, pick it up. It will become a serpent when he threw it down. It will become a rod when he picked it up. He could take his hand and put it in his bosom, and it would come out white as snow, right? Leprosy. That means that's how we also know that he was a black man, right? So the Most High Yah told Moses, when you go before Egypt, when you go into return into Egypt, see that you do these wonders before Pharaoh. The plague with the rod and with the leprosy in your bosom, which I have put in thy hand. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he will not let my people go. This is what the Most High Yah is doing to America. He's allowing America to harden her heart to releasing our people with reparations, returning us back to Zion, Africa, as a world without end. The Most High is doing it to intentionally bring plagues upon this country. Let's keep reading. And it says in verse 22, and thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Most High Yah, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. Y'all, we got to look at this. So the Most High, when he's dealing with Israel nationally, he refers to Israel as a singular, only begotten, dearly beloved son, right? So you got to understand, there were two terms in Hebrew for son. There was the dearly beloved son, like Yitzhak, Isaac was, and then you had Ishmael, who was technically the firstborn son. The mystery of this is that Israel is referred to as the firstborn, the only son, the dearly beloved son, that heartbeat of Yah. The only time we see this referred to is with Yahushua in the New Testament, and we also see Isaac, like I just told y'all with Ishmael, Isaac being that spiritual, only begotten son, that physical, only begotten son. When we're talking about Sarah, his mother, the womb of promise that the Most High prophesied would give birth, she laughed at the idea and named Isaac Yitzhak, which is laughter in Hebrew. So Isaac, that only begotten son, that was offered up in Genesis 22 is an image of Israel. Because Abraham had Isaac, Isaac had Jacob, Jacob had 12 sons, which are the Israelites, are the children of Israel, because Jacob's name was changed to Israel. So Israel is only begotten, dearly beloved, firstborn son, and we see the Most High tell Moses to tell Pharaoh to let my son go, that he might worship me. This goes to Luke 1, where it says that we might be saved from our enemies to worship our God. That was salvation. Israel going back to the land to keep their culture, to keep the law, statutes, commandments. This is not talking about everybody else. I got to deal with it. There are nations that would cleave with Israel. We see that there were some Egyptians that also cleaved with Israel when they left out of Egypt. We see Rahab, the harlot, cleaving to Israel. We also see the Syrophoenician woman say, I just want the crumbs from y'all God's table. I know y'all the people. I'm fine with that. I know y'all leading this thing. I just want to be a part of it. So there would be cleaving Gentiles to this firstborn son, but salvation was for Israel to come out of bondage, come out of Egypt, and go into their land to keep their culture. So the Most High is saying, let my firstborn son go. Let my only begotten son go. Now let's go to the New Testament and see Christ referred to as his only begotten son. Now when we look at John chapter 3, the infamous John chapter 3 verse 16, it says, for the Most High Yah so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Y'all, there is so much in there. There's revelation that I'm seeing as I'm shooting this. So if Israel is that only begotten son, and Christ is the epitome of that, the nations that will believe in Israel, I know y'all like, what? Just stay with me. The nations that will bless Israel will be blessed. Those that will curse them will be cursed. So we see Christ, Yahushua, epitomizes this, that those that will believe in Yahushua, as the scripture says, as that Israelite leader, he that came to save his people, those that are fine with that black Messiah, fine and believing in Yeshua, as the scriptures have said, that way they will have everlasting life. There's another layer. We see in Isaiah 45:17 that says Israel will be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation, neither shall they be ashamed or confounded, world without end. So however road you go, it all leads you to this common consensus that Christ was the epitome of Israel, the only begotten son. The nations that would cleave to Zion, cleave to Yahushua, as the scriptures have said, will be saved. Those that didn't will be destroyed, and this would be Israel being exalted above all nations. So all of these scriptures bear witness and come under one accord that the government, the kingdom would rest upon Israel. The nations that rejected that will be put to death. They will, and those that cleave to it would be saved.
Pause.
In Africa. If you repeat this fact, if you repeat this fact, if you repeat this fact. Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being the descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me just explain. Abraham, Isaac was the... Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.
We have DNA evidence of ancient sub-Saharan Negro remains. That means that the Israelites there today, if they are legitimate Israelites, they are going to be linked to these sub-Saharan Negro remains that predate the 1948 people. That means before the so-called white Jewish phenomena, there were black Negro remains, ancient black Israelites.
But if you do my ancestry, it's going to test your DNA on a wide library of old archaeological findings. What you're going to find is that you are closely linked to 2 major players are going to come up. The Yoruba and Al-Andalus, the Moors, right? So you're going to see Yoruba, I'm going to put mine up so y'all can see. You're going to see that you match closely with the Yoruba people and you match with Al-Andalus. Why is this important? This paints a specific historical picture of our history as a people. The Yoruba's oral tradition, I'm going to put that up for you guys, is that they came from Morocco. So that they were banished from Morocco, that whole region of Iberian Spain, that lower Granada region, that when they were banished in 1492, they migrated from Morocco and settled in modern Nigeria with the collective rest of their people that had already been there. Right?
Mentions the fact in his work Sefer HaKabbalah, as it seems several other of these royal Sephardic families later branched out from the David family, such as the Don Yayas. When you see the Nasi or the Yaya Negro, they changed their last name to Negro, because this goes back to Don Yaya Negro when he was given the land of the Moors. That's a lot of that Moorish history. But the Don Yayas, the Abarbanels, also never ceased to trace their origin to King David. Y'all watch this. Those related to the David family, we find after the expulsion of the Jews from Spain, we find them in Morocco.
Right? There had already been Israelites during the fall of the Assyrian Empire that migrated and founded Nigeria. So modern African Americans, our DNA goes to the group of Sephardic, Moorish, Al-Andalus, Yoruba, Ephraimite Israelites that were banished out of Spain when the Moorish Jews were banished, and they migrated and settled in what is today known as Nigeria. The earliest Israelite followers of Yeshua were referred to as Niger. So when they migrated into that region, that's where you get Nigeria, the people of Niger, those early Negro Israelites, those ancient Natufian Israelites. So the oral tradition of the DNA that you're going to match with is your...
So pause, families. So families, why is it the Most High he's pouring out his spirit on certain individuals, families? He said he shall pour out his spirit on all flesh. Families, you might have certain people, families, that is truly not only families, is very enlightened in their doctrine, families, but families, these cats are keeping customs, man. Man, like two Sabbaths ago, families, we not just long had the feast of first fruits, man. But a lot of people want to talk about some other stuff. They didn't even know that 2 Saturdays ago, man, was the feast of first fruits. Like, I'm loving this stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? Especially like when you aligning the sun, the moon, and the stars yourself into, man. You know what I'm saying? The Most High God been talking to us, y'all. He truly has, man. So he done put his spirit on certain other individuals, brothers and sisters, that is bringing out explosive information. While you got most people that just want to just Bible dump you, man. They just want to go to the scriptures. They ain't bringing no type of historical information, families. They ain't not going back 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years. They not going that far, families. These cats is staying in like the 17th century, maybe the 18th century. You know what I'm saying? They ain't diving in like super deep into like ancient eras, man. And I'm seeing that. And then they go to those scriptures and they try to just go precept and just boom, 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 boom. Like, wow. Like, you abusing the structure of the precepts, man. You know what I'm saying? These precepts are supposed to bring you instructions. It's an instruction manual, man. It's not meant for you to go to the precepts the way that you can continue to cut every single body you see, man. You abusing the word, man. And you know it. Out here abusing the word, man. And you know it. It's crazy, y'all.
Aruba, they say they come from Morocco. I keep going through this history because Morocco is the linchpin to unify the entire continent of Africa, those that are in the continent today and those that have been scattered. Our ethnicity is Moorish Israelites, specifically the Northern Kingdom. Now, I showed y'all on a map where Upper Egypt is at the bottom and Lower Egypt is at the top. Likewise, Nubia, Upper Nubia is at the bottom, Lower Nubia is at the top. Why is this important? The European power construct, y'all hear what I'm saying, has changed maps, has changed regions, has changed names of locations, right? The true birthplace of the Northern Kingdom is Africa. When we look at the Northeast Africa region, we know the Middle East is a new term that goes back to, say, the 1850s. This is not a term of antiquity. When you look back at King Angeus of Africa that you read about in the book of Jasher, a hidden book that they took out, the King Angeus of Africa, Dinahaba, his capital was in the Middle East. So during the time of the Bible, that whole region of Canaan was also seen as Ham's land. Now, we already know that.
But I got some more, families. He dives in deep on this, families. We got to go to a queen, a sister. I love this beautiful queen right here, families. She be going in, families, and her numbers is just steady rising. Her algorithm, families, is really blowing up right now, families, because, families, she is showing you his story, ancient history, families. You know what I'm saying? And families adding it up to the biblical scriptures that we believe in, which is the Torah. Which is the Torah. All these cats coming with all that New Testament, man, that's the whole volume of the book. The whole volume. It's not just the New Testament, man. It's all the way from Genesis all the way to Revelations. Quit cherry picking and choosing about what era that you want other people to stay in when the Most High has already got us set up, man. And that's facts, y'all. He got us set up. You got other people is moving the direction, families. They are changing pathways on you, man. They making the choices for you other than you making your own decisions, man. And then they want to have the audacity to sit here and talk about what is fake and false doctrine. Families, man, you know what's truly brings you life. You know what I'm saying? When you hear the words of Yah, man, it does something to you, families. When it's rightly divided, y'all. It's speaking to you, families. It's talking to you, man. Families, you be just sitting there just dwelling all inside of that, families, when people is talking to you right, other than bringing you this confusion about what's real and what's not. That's their decision. You know what I'm saying? That's why I be trying to say, families, know his story, and it's ancient, y'all. You serve a Elohim that is called the Ancient of Days. So put some respect on his name. Put some respect on that, man. All this modern stuff that these people coming, and then they wanna add their little stuff on there. No, quit adding your little stuff if you ain't gonna keep it in this biblical context, and quit telling me what I'm supposed to do. I already got prophets that died for this, that told us what we supposed to do. This is something that's a necessity in our life, y'all. This is something that what you need to do. You can want a lot of things, but what do you really need? The word of Yah been speaking to us, y'all. So let's go to this queen. Let's get some more meat. And families, if you like it, chew that thing up. If you ain't feeling it, spit out the bone. Let's go. Let's get a joint in.
If I could change the world I see, I would start with me. Mirror reflection thoughts dominates the heart. Trumpet sound, prophets loud, warning all, humble down. Time is short, Christ is come, terror bound. Better wake up before it's too late. How long will you sleep? Rise signs and wonders all around the earth. Alarming feeling inside. You know that something is. Why don't you follow your instinct? Oh, when the trumpet sounds, prophets loud, warning all, humble down. Time is short, Christ is come, terror bound. Better wake up before it's too late. How long will you sleep? Sleep. You were built to rise. See, time is now, time is now. Better wake up, 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 time is now. I could change the world I see, ooh, if I could, I'd change the world, starting with me.
Let's go, Yashua. To our wonderful sister.
The Ukrainians, who are the Polish, the Ashkenazis, the Ukrainians are all the same people, exact same genetics, everything. So I want to start with a little bit of history on the Khazars, and that is because the Rothschilds are related to them, and so I'm going to try and sum this up quickly. This was in a recent video that went around on YouTube for a lot of people, from a Christian person of color, but I don't necessarily agree with everything he said, but it was a good source of some information. So anyway, speaking of the Rothschilds, because they tie into all of this, they're one of the 1% leading families, and they were descended from the Bacharach family, the suffix of that being Iraq. They were from Iraq, the moon city of the Babylonians, okay? And they changed their name to Sassoon, like the Sassanians. You see this brother in the background on the right, he is a Sassanian, and you see he's got that kind of large forehead. So the Rothschilds also changed their name to Aziza and eventually to Rothschilds. But anyway, they control the global drug trade, and they're ranked number 7th by Interpol in terms of that. And their history is that they converted to Judaism, and Leo of the Khazar, the father of the Khazarians, plundered the temple and took the scroll and converted to Judaism. So my question is, if the grandfather of the Rothschilds has the actual scroll from the temple, why don't they cross-check the Dead Sea Scrolls against that and see if it's the same script and see if it says the same thing as the Talmud? Because he's got it, so they can just go and check that way. They don't need to do anything else. They don't need to go anywhere else. Okay, so we're going to go back to the Rothschilds a little later down the line. I just want to go back into a lot of history.
Pause. And families, that as well dealing with the Gnostic scrolls. If a lot of people don't know who the Gnostic what the Gnostic scrolls are, it was a group of people, families, that thought that they knew like deep mysteries of Yah. You know what I'm saying? The mysteries that wasn't supposed to be given to mankind, and they kept these things. What they did, families, was they supposed to have burned them all, but you had a group of families that actually kept many of them, families. They thought they burned them all, but they really didn't, and they hid them, families. And then all of a sudden, families, it popped up like a couple 100 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, man. You know what I'm saying? And this is why you have certain people that talk about, portals and stuff like that, families. The Gnostic scrolls is something not to be messed with, families. That ain't the book of Enoch, families. I don't know what they were studying, but I'm trying to tell you, y'all, the stuff is deep. You don't know what another person might be dibbing and dabbing into just because they speak from the biblical scriptures. You know what I'm saying? Try the spirit by the spirit, y'all.
Relating to the time of Rus and who the Russians and Khazars are, more of that bloodline. So we'll come back to this, but I just want to go into a little bit of history that we already covered. However, it's adding to that. And as I said, they're connected to the Sassoon bloodline. And at that point, they traveled to India and began the global drug trade and trafficking. So they got control of the opium trade, and that enabled them to control the world. In 1972, they migrated from Iraq, Baghdad to India and set up the Golden Triangle, okay? The cocaine triangle and opium drug trade. They call themselves crypto-Jews.
So going into the 18th century, families, man, you had the bloodline of the Rothschilds families and families. They was the ones that they are the gatekeepers. You know what I'm saying? Of these scrolls, families, these demonic type of knowledge, y'all, information, man. And families, they dib and dab into that and the Bible, families, to try to line up prophecy of when Yahusha is going to come, families. Not even the Son of Man gonna know when he gonna come, families, but when he do, man, when he do, y'all, it's gonna be righteous. I can tell you that much. So people has got to be careful about certain things, but at the same time, you got to be knowledgeable about DNA, bloodlines, y'all. You got to be knowledgeable about that stuff. You got brothers and sisters. The Most High done poured His Spirit out on all flesh. You got certain individuals, families, that is truly going into His story, which is history, ancient information, man, and they bringing this stuff out. And then you got other people, families, today, they're just going to just go to Bible and just Bible dump you. If you don't know the information, they're going to tell you, well, this is what God said, and that's it, that's all. You know, but they don't want to search out other information and line it up with the biblical documentations, man. What we call prophecies. He does things decently and in order, y'all. The Most High Yah does things in order, man. And we are the ones that's out of order because we do what we want to do. We got to quit that. We got to quit having that type of spirit, man.
All right, but privately they're Egyptians, Moroccans, Mongolians, and Turkish, and they're Horites from Mount Seir. And they also link to the Arabs. So crypto means that they outwardly say they're Jews or Arabs, and then inwardly they're worshiping these other gods, Babylonian gods. They are related to Amalek. I'm just kind of summing this up. I'm not reading it straight through. Take a screenshot if you want to. They then set up the House of Saud in Saudi Arabia. Mohammed bin Solomon set it up, and then they masqueraded as Muslims. All right, but in reality, they were domain Jews. Okay, so that means, and they practiced sorcery. So that's Babylonianism. Set up the House of Saud in order to take over the oil market and supply in Saudi Arabia. And that's what the movie Lawrence of Arabia is all about. So domain Jews means that they were Zionists. That means they believed in the state of Israel, but not the nation. The people are the nation of Israel, okay? But Zionism is not spiritually based on the word. It is a state that is created and designed. So we know the true nation of Israel is those who came on slave ships. So once again, the Rothschilds are ranked 7 with Interpol for the drug trade. Why? Because in the 1850s, Rockefeller colonized India, and Rothschild's Sassoon family got the monopoly rights over the opium trade, which they used to destroy the Qing dynasty. The Cain dynasty. So Xi Jinping, the leader of China, is a descendant. Remember, if you see in the notes at the beginning, they say they're descended from the dragon people. Now notice how King sounds like king, right? The term, a Canaan term for a leader, Khan or king. Canaan is not allowed to be grafted in Scripture, nor is the fallen seeds of the Horites. However, after Yahusha, he does allow the Canaanites to become grafted in. All right, the Ukraine and the Rothschilds own 85% of human trafficking. So these Iraqi Moon City people who are perpetrating as Hebrews and Jews used to build underground tunnels to traffic children through. And they were known as Matsuk. That's like Marduk, Babylon. And they are connected to Genghis Khan and Vlad the Impaler. Vlad the Impaler. So that is Dracula. all right? And he's the father of the draconian system, which used to impale and eat children. Christopher Columbus was a Khazarian. Remember I said the Batu was ruler of the Huns? That's who they are, the Batu again. Okay? And the Scythian bloodline is their bloodline too. Okay? So the Scythians, you can see up in the top right-hand corner as the Scyths, the Sake. So this is relating to sons of Isaac and Esau, and the Scythians. They are, see it said Ish Kuzay or Ashkenazi. Okay, so there's actually, so Ish means wife or married to Kuzay. And they're an ancient nomadic people living primarily in the region, this is in the top right corner of the slide here, known as Scythia, which today comprises the Eurasian steppes of Kazakhstan, okay, and the Ukraine, Volga, and the Siberian areas, okay? All right? So their bloodline is of Vlad the Impaler. The Batu ruled the Hun dynasty, and they used to practice this spirit cooking where you see, remember they were doing that in Hollywood a while back. Miss Abramovich woman, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name properly, on the top of the slide there, on her spirit cooking. Okay? And so this comes from the Ukrainians in Kiev, according to the Khazarian hypothesis. It goes back to a 6,000-year-old ritual, 6,000 BC, of spirit cooking. And it used to take place in Kiev, which is the name of one of their goddesses, all right, which deals with the transference of curses. Kiev was once part of Russia, and Kiev is part of the Ukraine, so that you understand exactly what this means. These people would do these rituals in line with the new moon. The sickle is the shape of a new moon. So these curses were dispatched and transferred at the new moon. And Zechariah proves, I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, he said to me, what seest thou? And I said, a flying sickle, of the length of 20 cubits, and of the breadth of 10 cubits. And he said to me, this is the curse that goes forth over the face of the whole earth. So, this is how they dispatch these curses on the new moon. So if you're trying to line yourself up with a profane day and disobey the law, line up all your holy days with the new moon so that you can, catch these curses. So these Russian chronicles tend to rewrite the Bible a bit, and of course they start with the flood. And why? Because the enemy comes in like a flood, but we're going to deal with this other chronicle here. So this Russian primary chronicle that I'm going to use really does some interesting things. And one of the things they do is, of course, they rewrite history, they rewrite the Bible, the flood, boundaries, all of that kind of thing. But so it's really interesting, though, what they say about the land of Japheth and who the people are. And then we're going to get more in depth with the truth of that. So here's the land of Japheth.
Oh, and I'm glad this beautiful queen is mentioning the word floods, because in the spirit realm, flood is meaning different waves of judgment in each era or each dispensation. The Bosaya brings out his fury, or different floods, different waves of judgment upon the earth and unto mankind. Let's continue.
The land of Japheth. The share of Japheth lies Rus. In the share of Japheth lies Rus, Hud, and all the Gentiles. So it goes into them. All right. And so then it says the names of them: the Lakhans, the Prussians, the Chud border on the Warangian Sea. The Warangians dwell on the shores of that same sea and extend eastward as far as the portion of Shem. They likewise live to the west beside the sea as the land of the English and the French. For the following nations are part of the race of Japheth: the Warangians, the Swedes, the Normans, the Godanders, the Russes, the English, the Spaniards, Italians, Romans, Germans, French, Phoenicians, Genoas, and their homes are situated in the northwest and adjoin the Hamitic tribes. See, they add themselves to his genealogy. Fallen angels add themselves to Japheth's genealogy, and we're going to see that. You know, we already talked about the Khazarian conversion in the last episode, and so we've talked a little bit more about it here. And then a little further down, as we said before, there was this time of the transition from the Ivanov or Japheth Empire, and even some of the Israelites were still in that area, over to the Khazar Empire. And so what I'd like to just discuss with you is there being a kind of community of Israelites there, even still possibly, because there is an Ephraim who is a sort of a bishop over that region. And he is also called John of Kiev, like Prester John. Now this could be Esau imitating the bloodline, or it could actually be Ephraim. Okay? So, Ephraim in Russia and Kiev. Alright, so around 1089, mention is made of a metropolitan Ephraim in Paris-Saval, which is striking in view of the fact that the metropolitan John of Kiev is mentioned as dying the same year and is being replaced by...
Man, I love this queen, families. And I went over that 90-minute mark, y'all. So I want to say that I love y'all, man. Remember, families, man, that the floods represent a reset. A reset. You're supposed to bring a balance to the earth, as well those that's part of humanity. You know what I'm saying? And as well, families, in the stars of the heavens. You know what I'm saying? So remember, families, that each dispensation has its reason. It has its season. You know, it has its moment. You know what I'm saying? And when the Most High comes to visit, families, people always talking about when Hasatan comes to collect, he collect what's his. Families, man, these souls don't belong to him, man. Don't nothing belong to him. Especially if he's going to be cast into the lake of fire. As well as the false prophets. You know what I'm saying? So how can he collect something that don't even belong to him? What belongs to Yah, he comes to collect. Where the children of Yasharala at, scattered abroad on all four corners of the planet, the true chosen seed of Yah. I want to say that we are forever out to sons and daughters of Zion. Oh yeah. And we been out to Yasharala. I want to say that I love you. Shalom and shalom.